Hey, we're back here on the bonus round for our final segment of 2012 with Glenn Schofield, Shane Satterfield, and Garnet Lee. We are excited about what 2013 is going to bring for our industry, but let's talk about the third-party publishers and the kind of games we're going to be seeing, what we can expect from publishers. And since you're here, Glenn, we'll start with Activision. And you know, what's amazing to me, I think, is that the industry has changed so much over this generation. And now you look at Activision. I mean, how Call of Duty has become such a phenomenon. Do you feel like the bigger publishers are going to bet on fewer games but make them that much bigger? I mean, I know Activision is talking a lot about, Blizzard, Call of Duty, Skylanders, Bungie.
Right.
And there are other games sometimes being made, but it feels like it's these big master brands is where the focus is.
Right. Well, it seems to be they're kind of following the movie model, which is we're gonna bet really big, and then we're gonna take some smaller bets. Not too much in the middle, and it seems to be working. I've been there when they've placed some major bets on some of these games like Skylanders, and it's really taken off. So, they've done it with the DLC, and the DLC is huge now for us. So, it just makes a lot of sense. The industry's maturing, the business is maturing. So you got a lot more savvy businessmen in it.
Well, and you look at something like Skylanders, which we don't talk about a lot on bonus round, but I mean it's a huge phenomenon. And I mean you go to any retailer, and I mean people are picking up these toys, they're selling like crazy on eBay, and it's showing, I think, that the hardcore gamer is a part of the industry and an important part of the industry. But I think some of these bigger publishers are trying to diversify and find out other ways to reach new audiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what happened to the platformer games. I mean, we all used to play them, and then over the last few years, it just kind of went away. So for me, even playing something like Skylanders is a breath of fresh air. So it's nice to get back to some of them.
Now, Shane, when you look at the third-party publishers, across the industry, there's some that are doing well. There's some that are struggling, like THQ and companies like that. And then we see interesting things like on Kickstarter, developers, like Peter Molyneux is now trying to fund a new Populous, and you see all the old adventure game companies coming back, raising millions of dollars sometimes to make games. I mean, what do you think the role of the publisher is going to be in 2013?
I don't think it's going to change all that much. I think it goes back to what he was saying. It's big bets and a few sprinkled smaller bets here and there. I think we learned with like XCOM that some of these old properties maybe don't have as much punch in the modern era as you might think. Right. XCOM, amazing game. I think probably everyone on this panel has played it and loved it. Initial sales figures haven't really worked out, as far as where it ended up on Metacritic and things like that. So I feel like the bets keep getting smaller. I mean, you look at the game, or bigger, but also being more conservative. So we see a lot of the 3s and the 4s and the 5s and the 6s. Nintendo hasn't created a new IP since Pikmin, really. I feel like it's all about risk of, being adverse to risk, trying to play it as safe as possible. But the encouraging part is that at the beginning of every console generation, that's generally where you see the new IPs. So we got like Assassin's Creed at the beginning of this last generation. So what's going to be interesting to me is to see if these publishers do transition and start to release some new IPs, and how are they going to transition from this current generation to the next? Is it going to be like Sony, where Sony actually supports its old platform for several years? Are the third parties going to do that? Or are they going to immediately jump ship and start working on these new platforms? So, and then delays and things like that. We thought 2012 was going to be an amazing year from third parties. Right. Half of the big games end up getting shoved into 2013. Hopefully that's not the case, this year.
And then you look at some of the other third parties, Garnet, like EA. I mean, they've got like 3 or 4 big games coming out in February and March, and I think 3 of them are third-person co-op action games: Dead Space, Fuse, and Army of Two. And I just don't. I mean, I love EA.
EA is a baffling story, right? Because you ask, what do publishers do? Well, I think in the new economy of games making, publishers are coordinators, because this has become an era where most studios are not going to build their own game engine. So there's going to be a game engine, there's going to be a tool set, and then there's going to be a bunch of resources that need to come in to make the game. There's going to be animation houses, there's going to be art houses, environmental artists, all these things that need to be pulled together. And that's where the external producer in a publisher is so critical. Like, that's the hub through which all these pieces have to come together for that creative studio to to be able to make their game and be successful. I'm asking, like, just to make sure, am I sounding right, Glenn? Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, we make our game slightly different, whereas
You guys different, but I mean, for a lot of places, so that being said, how does an EA make the mistake of having all these games coming together? I mean, they're running all these timelines inside the company. They know what's going on, and they're going to blast themselves out of their own launch
it
window.
seems
Hits
like
the quarter.
To me, they've always had a little bit more of a shotgun approach. You know, we've seen Capcom be a new IP house, right? Just put out all these IPs and then not sort of put the money into the second or third one and make them just.
I think a lot of the Japanese companies are like that.
Or
I
even the
just feel like
first
it's
one. I
like-
mean, look at games like Asura's Wrath. I mean, that game was kind of stealth launched, kind of had a small fan base
I
online.
don't see how they afford to, keep making those games year after year. I mean, they've got, Devil May Cry, Lost Planet. They just had Resident Evil. All these big guns firing off, and none of them are kind of, building into, a phenomenon on the scale of, you need now for like a Call of Duty or any of these, Assassins or any of these big franchises.
They need to continue to take their A team on one or two of those and, make an 88 to 93 rated game just constantly. And when, I buy into the first game and I'm like, wow, 94 rated, and then the next one comes out and it's in the 75, I'm disappointed, right? I want to play that game.
All right, hold that thought, guys. We're going to be right back here on the bonus round.